Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our daily word this morning. It's Wednesday. I'm glad you could join me for our time. Little hay, the wild tree. Carve out time and to choose. This is working for you all. For our text this morning, I've chosen from Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. Now, there are a lot more words that go with this, but it's this beginning piece that I want to talk about today. And it says this: as God's chosen one, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. I get to thinking about this scripture as it relates to the specific ourselves with these particular things. Now, I'm a person, especially on Sundays, I'm careful. I try to dress in certain ways, I wear matching ties. So this Sunday, it's a communion Sunday. Always on the first Sunday of communion, I'm careful. I like to wear my blue, black fish tie. You all know what that is. The tie I always wear on a communion Sunday. And what I wear around my neck is this very heavy cross that I was given from the Transforming Center, and it depicts the Last Supper. I always wear that on that first Sunday of the month, Communion Sunday. Some people notice, some people haven't noticed. I always wear that. And all of us, we try to match, we try to look nice when we leave the house. Well, not always the case, depending on where you go, but we do that. We take care in clothing ourselves. That's one way to look at it. But Paul writes to us, as he writes to the church in Colossae, that clothing ourselves is much, much deeper than our outward appearance, about what we wear, about how our hair is, about what jewelry we might wear. It's way beyond that. He says to us that we should clothe our put down with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. And so I thought about that this morning. What would our lives look like? What would the world look like? What would our neighborhoods look like? What would our families look like? What would our relationships with each other look like if we took as much care as we do when we look in the mirror and make sure our clothes match, and make sure our hair is combed, and make sure we look nice, and make sure our tie is straight, or whatever it is, or our shoes match? What if we took the kind of in ourselves, our spirits, our minds, our words, our thoughts, how we treat each other? What would it look like if we took such great care that we would clothe ourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience? I got to thinking about, what would that look like for us? How would that change how we treat each other? How would that change how our interactions with each other would go? How would it change how our politics would go? How would it change how our relationships with our neighbors beside us or across the street, or with the waitress or waiter, or with the person that personally, me and you, before we left the house, would look in the mirror, fix ourselves, make sure we look nice, make sure our clothes match, make sure all of that happens. And then before we left, we would clothe ourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Compassion is that genuine love that regards others in such a powerful way. It transforms the path we're on into authentic relationships with each other. It rekindles the care that we could really feel for those people that we encounter. This compassion and kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, it really emboldens and should embody our personhood. It should expand our in a real powerful way. It leads us back to where humanity finds a way to live in common with each other. And that's really what God's calling us to. We're so frustrated with the world, and people are saying it's such a bad place, and now there's a new meme going around. I don't disagree with it necessarily, but you should always tell someone where you're at, because this world's a crazy place. Okay, I don't disagree with that necessarily, but what part of the calming of the craziness are we tending? What part of the changing of the tone are we changing? I would bet that it would be a better place if before we walked out the door of our house in any given day, if we would clothe ourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, that then would spread to other people. I know some people think I'm living a pipe dream. Some people think I live in the pipe dream. I think it works. I think it's what God calls us to. And it doesn't begin with somebody else. It begins with me. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody. We are big in our society about whatabouts. Some might have done this, but what about? No, it doesn't work that way. That's not really. It's not the way that we're called to live. You and me, compassion, kindness, meekness, humility, patience, clothing ourselves with that so that it's always a part of who we are. And I think that's what God calls us to as we live our lives together. So, I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to do it better than I've ever done it, and try to look in the mirror every day and make sure I'm clothed with these things. I hope you'll join me. Join me on this clothing journey, if you will, that we can make a difference in the world around us. That's the word that comes to me today, and I think that we're called to share with each other. So thanks for joining me for our time together. I always appreciate it. I hope you'll know of God's love that surrounds you and know of my love for you. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.